Hello, Ministers, Melcy Wrath here, with coverage from the Smogon Classic Playoffs. We have the Gen 2 games as I'm most invested by far in Generation 2 right now due to a tournament I was selected in. And so even though the Classic covers Gens 1 through 5 and all of the competitors in these playoffs are playing those gens in a best of 5, one game each, we are going to be focusing on the highlights of GSC. Now, I do think the Zolkuder game is also a highlight versus Elodin. However, that game is like over 600 turns, so I don't think we... because it is the only stall versus stall matchup. Because, of course, contrary to the popular belief, even the more defensive team of Solons in this game ends up being a fast-paced, great game. And this one, of course, does as well. These two, I definitely think, are the highlights of the round. And the stall was also a systematic masterclass game, but it's probably a bit too long for us to cover here right now. Anyways, as I have a lot I need to do after this, including playing in that GSC tournament. So, wish me best of luck there. But just quick context, M-Dragon is the first seed in this tournament. Starmaster is the bottom one. M-Dragon has I think it's an 84% win rate to qualifying into these playoffs and got in with the most points. So on an absolute tear right now and is definitely looking to take this trophy. And so, let's see how that is going to come about and how Starmaster plans to beat the, statistic favorite for this tournament in this generation. So leading T-Tar versus Nidoking. Nidoking, of course, a solid option to lead with on Nidoking offenses, as it has the Thief, the Lovely Kiss. You get your sleep off early, get your Thief off early. These are all important things. And you also have, the elemental support threatening. You can also tech counter for the opposing lax that may want to attack for whatever reason. But anyways, Tyranitar, also a popular, it's becoming more popular recently. I've been seeing it go up in usage as its dynamic punch helps a lot against lax setting up. As it does over 40%. It also confuses, so you don't get into any of those hairy early games versus a lax lead. And of course, good into Zapdos as well with that rock slide. But not good into Nidoking, so going to switch out on the Immune Earthquake. And then what you will see is what you would think is a standard sequence as Zapdos goes for Hidden Power because it is faster. And while they trade 3-hit KOs, Zapdos is always going to come out on top due to its higher speed tier. But a little did anyone know that this Nidoking actually has intentionally dropped special defense as it's a 3-hit kill. This is obviously a clear 2-hit kill. So what M-Dragon has done is it deliberately lowered the special defense or HP, but I think he would, I don't know why he wouldn't do special defense. Anyways, semantics not as important. What's important is that counter works on Hidden Power in Gen 2. So even though this is a special attack, counter works, and he freaking bops the Zapdos on turn 2. And oh my gosh, there it is. Even Starmaster knows things are getting out of hand. It's only turn 3. And who said that GSC was not an exciting gen? Anyways, so sends in the Raikou as it's going to kill Nidoking with an HP Ice. Good double on the Cloyster as it goes to Lax. Some dragon goes to lax to, presumably take that hit. But now you get your spike up, which is going to be very important. That is an insanely important entry hazard in this generation. And so now, Nidoking goes for the lovely kiss. Now, Raikou is going to have Sleep Talk, so it's okay if it gets slapped. But this set is insane, and I was seeing in the Smogon Tournament's Discord chat that it was a set originally used, at least, if not also created by Karapinga, if that's how you indeed say it. So shoutouts to them for this insanely diabolical set, which has to be Thief last as well because it has not revealed leftovers. So it is a Thief Mono Earthquake, anti-electric counter Nidoking, which I'm here for. This is just one of the most based things ever. And evidently very strong because now that Zapdos has been taken care of, this Earthquake is actually highly threatening, as are these sleeps later in the match. If there is not, it outspeeds already 2 of these mons. So this is still a threat, even though it's already done its job. It's still a massive threat, and so really good set and showing of it here in this playoff game, which is the best time to show something phenomenal like that is on the big stage. But yeah, so attacking this time, doubling out again is likely, but it can be, you can get some momentum, but if it stays in, that's pretty catastrophic for you. And so, you just attack to be safe because you already have your spike up, so there's nothing too major to gain by being insanely aggressive there. And so now going into Cloister to tank that double edge, and then M Dragon goes into his own Cloister to get up his spike. Toxic is put down and Surf done to give it chip, put it on a timer. Star on a structure like this, you could have some Starmie action, Fortress, maybe even Golem tier to spin later. So putting the Cloister on a timer can be very valuable, as 1 layer of spikes is the maximum entry hazard allowed in GSC. So getting rid of it means every time a Pokemon switches in, it's going to be doing that 6% recovery. And those numbers add up very quickly over the course of the game. Without a spike, you can switch, and just keep getting your HP back. So now Raikou versus Zapdos is a matchup that Raikou is basically always going to win, unless it's already very low and or paralyzed. And we do see the first factor of that coming in here as Zapdos paras, which is actually a lot more debilitating of a status for Raikou than it may at first seem, because what it most often does is forces a rest out of it, which it really does not want. It wants your Raikou to have agency in what it's clicking, because all of a sudden when it doesn't, things can get dangerous. And you need to, because if you're slower, then things are just demonstrably dangerous, as you can not only full para, but no longer outspeed your threats. So if Nidoking gets in on this, it is now faster. So very good to actually get that T-Wave off, and while it paras, it was never hurting Lax. But Lax threatens Raikou out. So now this is a parried Raikou that did not get to rest and heal up. And oh my goodness, great aggressive double there. Getting this Nidoking in, making sure the Nido puts in work. However, I think it's a read on that Raikou, as I was saying, is likely going to rest because it wants to get that para off as soon as possible. and start burning those sleep talk turns so it can come back. And M-Dragon also wants to stay on the front foot because revealing T-Wave likely means the Zapdos does not have rest. And with it not having rest, Nidoking not having leftovers, and Cloyster on the way out as well, M-Dragon's team has actually sustained arguably more damage than Star Master's. Although Star Master is under a lot of pressure to stabilize and do so quickly, as there's a good chance there's no more ground immunity. And Raikou, also one of the main offensive threats, is paralyzed. And while T-Tar is a good check, if it does not have Dynamic Punch, it's going to struggle to deal with this Lax in the long term, because, you know, Lax, of course, is broken. But Cloyster comes in here, and so Nidoking offering itself up with a Thief now. That is really good for M-Dragon's presumably Golem on this team, as spinning these spikes away at any point is going to be tremendously appreciated. And Cloyster, you know, now no longer has longevity to get itself back up. It's going to be losing health every single time it comes in, and as such, Star Master just sacks it over taking the T-Bolt. So now T-waving the Lax as well as paralysis is really strong, and the Zapdos does not really have the means to inflict much more damage to Star's team than, you know, the T-Wave. You know, that's about the best thing it can do if it's not HP water for the licks. So it's doing its best, and then in comes T-Tar to check the Lax. As you can see, it takes that double edge very nicely. Now I'm going to see what it does. A Screech, which, you know, of course, very popular answer. And as I had said before, you know, massive triple ground weakness now present with Zapdos removed. So, you know, if this T-Tar has EQ, it's going to be devastating, and indeed it reveals it now. Missing that Dynamic Punch, it's a 50% accurate move, you know, but still you do hate to see it, as it is actually in this range like a it's basically a guaranteed 1-hit kill. Like I think if it's not guaranteed, I think there's literally a 2% chance. Is kind of what the calc is saying here. So, you know, kind of heartbreaking miss there on winning the tie. It also could have lost the tie as well, though, of course. But at any rate, going into the Zapdos now well, usually Licks does not have Rock Slide, which is the only move it can hurt Zapdos with besides Explosion. So the Zapdos almost always going to want to come in there. Though it does invite Raikou resting up, which is not ideal. But, you know, with a healthy Lax, Raikou's not actually a threat as Lax. Out-damages it and does not take enough damage in return. So Steelix just roaring to try and get more residual damage on M-Dragon's team. But a Vaporeon is revealed, which is so bad because it can potentially beat really all of them now that they're paralyzed. And this is why the paralysis on the Zapdos has put in so much work this game. Because in this situation, you know, this Vaporeon can win right now. Sorry, just recovering a little bit from this sickness still. But Raikou and Zapdos alike have to go for a 2-hit kill on Vaporeon. So being paralyzed, this Raikou has to either now rest and go for sleep talk rolls to kill it, or just try to thunder through para itself. And with Surf, doing that much damage, the option is not looking preferable, but it's really the only option that Star Master at this point has. So now M-Dragon, aware of that, is going to boost up, because now these are going to be easily 2-hit kill Surfs, as you can see. And basically, unless Raikou rolls a Thunder there, this Vaporeon is not threatened. And from that point, as it outspeeds Steelix, it's going to just instantly kill it, and has a good chance to even beat this Lax as well. But you know, in the event that it doesn't, you have a Cloyster ready to explode. You have Screech, Tyranitar, which will set up Snorlax to blow it back, and etc. So, very comfortable risk here by M-Dragon, as there's still other ways to deal with the remaining Pokemon. But if you get this here, then it's just over, and even if not, you'll do massive damage. So as you can see, not even Thunder either. So the paralysis chance is 20% lower. And it only takes 55, not enough for the kill. So the Surf comes in, blows Raikou away. And now it starts using Acid Armor on top of it, and the Lax Paras. So really a masterclass of why paralysis and paralysis moves are so threatening in GSC, because now with that double boost, I mean, look at that double edge for 15. This thing is not threatened at all. You basically have to fish for a crit. But at this point, the game is already beyond over, as, you know, this just dies to anything after you kill the Vaporeon, and then Cloyster Surfs to, I think, do like 68 or something like that, and then, you know, Zapdos hidden powers to kill it. And so M-Dragon wins in an explosive and just really nice game. That was really fun to watch. Great stuff by both players there. And so now we have the second game that I think is the highlight, which is Soulwind versus Crucify. So straight into it. Oh, we got the Cloyster Chowder as Crucify notes in the chat. Nickname game on point. Leads with the Spike. The Zapdos threatens Cloyster out, and Crucify gets the Cloyster in. Spikes up on both sides of the field. Let me see if, yeah, we can get that Spike up graphically. There it is. I did not want anyone to be confused about that. Sometimes the skip turn can do that. And so now going into T-Tar, Lax check. Not one to wear down at Cloyster too much, as not much has been revealed about Soulwind's team, and it's also not really fruitful too. You generally want to get your Spike and get out of there. So the Dynamic Punch, you know, as we were talking about before, 45 damage is insane. And so, you know, even though the first one misses, big dividends there. You know, crazy amount and para. But, you know, it does not get paralyzed, so, you know, one could argue, I mean, this Tar really needed to be preserved, especially because you don't know how much work it puts in against the rest of the team. You know, arguably can be better to cut your losses and, you know, go into some other option over taking that whooping there. Because, you know, now it's going to be 2% after Spike, so it really gets like one attack off. Maybe two, depending on the circumstances. But anyways, back into the game. Nevertheless, oh yeah, and that's the other thing. Now that it's revealed Whirlwind, if it puts in Tyranitar, then T-Tar just dies. So, yeah, that's why you really want to consider preserving that. Although, obviously, the Dynamic Punches did not go their way. But I'm just saying, maybe after you miss that first one. Thunderbolt crit parry does not matter too much. Its lax just rests. It does force the rest though, which is good. So now Blissey comes in on opposing Zapdos, which reveals a more defensive structure, which was otherwise not obvious. Don't think we've seen a Blissey in a while, so this will be interesting for sure. Going to likely, be a more defensive team. And as such, there will be more defensive options as Cloyster goes for a rapid spin there, revealing that indeed you're dealing with, like a more stall-like structure. But it does not mean this is not going to be an absolutely banger game, or that this team does not have a ton of offensive utility as it does, as already demonstrated with the Whirlwind Zapdos. So a good read on that situation, with the Blissey to come in and block the spin there. And the Gengar mean looks, trapping the Zapdos into this duel. And just starts Ice Punching, so not a Perish trap set, presumably, although it could be. They do have that. They often do still carry Ice Punch. Let me look. Perish strong trap Gengars. And a really cool tech, Protect, is revealed. So this is a Whirlwind Protect Zapdos. And it indeed whirlwinds that Gengar out. So undoing the trap, but now Soul Wind's aware and can keep this in mind. So Protect doing its early gen thing, giving free HP back to that Zapdos, every turn it gets used. That's something you love to see. And really hard, it's a hard play to make, but, so here's the way I look at it. Right, Nidoking here, if it takes one, it'll be bad. But it's not like the absolute end of the world either, okay? So if you Quake, all the known targets right now don't want to take that. And since there's definitely going to be a Skarmory on this type of team, it's not like Ice Beam is too profitable of a stab either. And also, Skarmory doesn't touch Nidoking, so you can Thunder it after. I really feel like there's definitely a risk factor, but I think Quaking here pays some dividends, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm just going to pull it up in case, but let's see. Yeah, so Quake does 25 to 30, so, if you Quake here, goes up to 30. So, yeah, you have to get a high roll, but, there's crit odds too, as well, on top of that. I feel like Earthquaking could have been, I guess the roll's not very high, so maybe not, but I don't know, it's something you could have gone for, but of course Ice Beam comes with the chance of a freeze, which may be more what's being looked at, because, if you freeze the Blissey, for example, here, it's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt big time. Because that's like the main special wall, and so on and so forth. But the thing is, though, that you have a 95. You have basically a guaranteed 2-hit kill if Blissey comes in. So honestly, I think the Earthquake, I hope it was at least considered there, because I think the Earthquake could have been good. At the very least, you force a rest out of this Lax, which will likely reveal that it is sleep talk. But the other thing is that, you know, you have lovely kiss, of course. So the thing is that you can quake, then kiss, and then this lax has, you know, health that's more like here. You know, that's like, you know, how much different percent? That's like almost 11, you know, it'll be like at 32, something like that. And still slept, which means it gets OHKO'd by Earthquake. It dies to Zapdos Thunder from that range when it comes in on the spike. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that would have been a good option. But, you know, now quaking. Or I guess even you go Earth. Well, because it's defensive, you know, it is likely, very, very likely going to be rest talk to attack. So, you know, maybe even the double quake is better. Because, you know, if you lovely kiss, then it knocks it out of that one hit range. You have to hope it doesn't roll rest like it did there. At any rate, so it starts rolling, and it does big damage to that Cloyster, which smartly surfs. Of course, the risk factor there being if it rolled double edge, this thing died, but, you know, you really don't want to stay in and get exploded, so switch out is smart, as is the surf, knowing that. So Mischievous takes some good damage. Love that sprite in Gen 2, by the way. Throws out a Toxic on this Zapdos to protect as well. Now this is very likely standard rest talk Zapdos, but the Toxic achieves it you know, it forces a rest in the longer term, so it's good and probably is the most this Mischievous could do to it anyways. So now that T-Tar comes in, it could have been at like 40-50%, but now it's at a crippling 8, and so see, here's the issue, is that this has to stay in now to live next turn, because if it doesn't stay in, you know, it's finished, and so you go to the Rock Slide, primarily not to allow this Zapdos in, because I think with that amount of damage, you actually may even OHKO with Dynamic Punch. So let me see. Yeah, let's see what it came in at. 80 to 68. No. Actually, if it's absolute max roll, you actually do OHKO this Blissey. But, and you know, of course, Confusion hit itself, etc. So even though even though Cloyster has to get in and spin, so it's not necessarily dead, it is a very uncomfortable spot. But, you know, letting the Zapdos in, I mean, you kind of can. It may have been worth it to Dynamic, but, you know, the other issue is that there's already been one traumatic miss. You know, you don't want a second one. I think Dynamic probably better though. You know, in this game, status, you're definitely behind, so you want to start getting some things going for yourself. Because this Lax already almost comfortably walls this team. I mean, Zapdos isn't hurting it. Gar probably doesn't have the tools, and it also has to do them first, as, you know, if Lax gets an EQ off, you know, there it goes. And this team does not have enough force without this being a likely Monolax. So a Monolax it probably is, but, you know, that means that it's hardwalled by Mischievous. You know, in which case, you know, in conclusion, you gotta get you some initiative, or, you know, this is gonna be over. just rests up. You know, a lot of explosion pressure with this cloister, but Crucify being restrained with it, very good. Surfing that Scarm up. You know, he's getting some free damage on whoever comes in. And Zapdos going to threaten out that Scarm, so someone goes back to their own lax. Switching to Cloister. As you know, the lax probably not going to be too threatening on its own, but it actually reveals itself to be a fire lax, which is good because you now all of a sudden the pressure there is this lax can take over this entire game on its own. It can beat everything except basically Mischievous, and in certain situations, you know, even can beat Mischievous, depending on the circumstances of the game. Same with this thing might not even have explosion, but if it does, you know, it's almost hard to click it there with the value that this lax has shown itself to have with Flamethrower, as you know, it now beats Skarmory. So the Cloister goes down. Zapdos taking the opportunity to come in, getting 6% when it comes in, getting another 6% when it protects. That's why I think it's so strong. You know, we've seen this Zapdos, I think, gain like 24% in a span of 2 turns on this game, and that's an amazing thing to see. So, Mischievous, not really one to be against Nidoking. Switch it out. So it goes to Lax. Sorry about that. And Sleep Talk's that double edge, finishing off the Cloister, which, I mean, the thing is that this Surf does so much damage to Mischievous that, well, the main thing is the spike, you know. Someone's gotten that spike up, and that's why, you know, even though it's risky, you need to get that spike up quick, because, you know, pretty soon, you know, Blissey's going to be healed up. And, you know, then all your offensive pressure and progress is basically gone, and you have nothing out of it. And, you know, you have one Mon, you know, your Mons are all a timer except for Zaplax. So, you know, tried to get it going, but, you know, taking the unfortunate double edge roll does not allow it to happen. But I do respect the initiative there. Thunder doing a ton to Skarm. Skarm, I guess. Well, yeah. Now that Skarm knows about the Flamethrower, it knows it has no value in this matchup, as everything has super effective special coverage to beat it. So, you know, just getting some chip off on that Nido. And Solwyn's Lax. Now rolling those talk turns away. And this is kind of the issue, is that this this Lax is only threatened by this Lax, which is walled by this Mischievous. And with the Toxic, you know, can force that Snorlax to rest. So, you know, going to have to find a way to handle that Lax. Before it just, you know, takes out Crucify's entire team. You know, Talking Edge as it comes in, and now it's going to be Awake 2 with HP advantage. So that's not good, but Solwind, recognizing the win con, does not want, you know, get crit or anything like that, so it just switches out into the safe option, and then reveals that it has Spite, which I'm not sure I've ever seen in GSC before. But, you know, now we see that this Lax would indeed not be winning the PP4, because, oh my gosh, this fight is crazy. And it's probably for that reason, actually, because, mono laxes certainly have the ability to PV stall, for example, Gengar. So this Mischievous not wanting to put up with any of that, and indeed it's not going to. But the tech is revealed, and that's a great switch into Skarmory. It's inconsequential, if it reveals Explosion, which is unlikely, but it reveals Explosion. Skarm wants to die anyways. If it mean looks, and Skarm wants to die anyways. If it's Destiny Bond, which is what it is, and which is like the main thing to worry about, Skarm wants to die, but also sees now and scouts that you cannot just Earthquake this Gengar, lest to take your primary Wincon down with it. Now, you can even win without this Lax at this point if you take care of the other Mons, which these guys are capable of doing. This team, it certainly is. It's not ideal with this Zapdos set over Restalk, but still possible. But still, that's never something you can give up. As Lax is far and away the best Mon, in any tier ever. EQ crit handles the Blissey, unfortunately. But such is life. This, however, lets in the Lax to put in some big work. And interestingly, no, going for Quake is very risky here, as Zapdos coming in for free can get hectic pretty fast. Not like the end of the world, but you don't want to let it in, so the Earthquake prediction is not so simple or easy, because then you have Thunder Para shenanigans, Thunder Crit shenanigans, winning the trade at low HP and then getting Talk Edged, or, many other variations like that. So all makes sense, and then Skarmory is Sack, so, still, very, very close game in slim margins that we're looking at here, even despite the previous situation. Just because there were ways to, solo win these games. How it works in GSC is, not that Xmon goes on a tear and wipes everything out, but instead it's a systematic team breakdown of which all the teammates play a part. And so, for that reason, even though these, threats and win cons are identified, there's a long, winding, and complex route that gets them to that point. And so that's why we see, such a close and exciting game here that can go either way. And so now the Zapdos comes in after the sack. And we see Snorlax, and yet again, by the way, Zapdos here gaining yet another likely 12%, unless this rolls double edge, if it indeed even stays in. And you can see really just the power of leftovers and even protect, which is not seen much, but yeah, great value coming out of this game. And does not roll the right sleep talk that it needs, which is a rest here. So even though the Thunderbolt does less damage than the Thunder, not rolling that healing move or double edge, leaves the Zapdos pretty healthy and lax down. And so what that means is that you know, the Zapdos is really the final barrier. You know, from this point. Well, no. Actually, still really close. Because of this Zapdos set. And so that protects nice, though. You see how it's coming in. Burning that poison turn. Making this thing more compelled to use rest. And also giving it yet another 6%, by the way. Shout out to Leftovers and Protect. In the older gens. And Lax comes in now as it handily beats the Zapdos and goes for a prediction as that would be the best time to get in Gengar and a Destiny Bond. Situation here would be devastating because, you know, you are basically forcing, basically you have to switch Mischievous. Now let's Nidoking get in. And then Nidoking gets a lovely kiss off, which makes the rest all complicated. You know, very thorny, so good Earthquake prediction there. And a great switch. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, the double quake. The double quake. Oh, it's a good switch. It's an even better and even all the risk and the drama. Well, actually, no, it's not really. No, wait, no. Yeah. It's for sure a 2-hit kill. So there's for sure odds, of course, that Thunder is going to miss, or either of the 2-hit kill Thunders are going to miss. But, you know, instead of keeping Lax guaranteed safe, you know, you go for the early quake. But that sets up the temptation to go into Gar. And oh my goodness, another quake to finish it off. That is just a beautiful move because, you know, if Crucify goes for the Thunder there, you know, that's just it. If it gets both, then someone just loses. Oh, such a high risk play, but gets rewarded in beautiful fashion in that Earthquake. The first quake even set it up. Oh, that's just something you love to see. But what's crazy is that it's not even over yet, because this Zapdos indeed beats these final two. So with the lovely kiss shenanigans, you know, things just get sketchy here. And oh my gosh, Crucify even crits the Earthquake. But an attack comes in, boom. And the Zapdos in, boom. Well, I shouldn't say it beats them circumstantially. And so now we're going to see, like, this is still so winnable for both of them. And these last, see, look at this. You got Skarm, Blissey, Mischievous. But still, it's just a phenomenal, great, exciting game, nail-biting ending going on here with these turns. And so this is why I don't get how people can't see the GSC is fire. I kind of want to think about these turns, but let's just see. So, right, rests to not risk some kind of speed tie, potential shenanigans, or missing Thunders, of course. You know, taking what is, you know, more or less a higher percentage route. And gets the Thunder off. T-Bolt there exchanged. And so now we see winning the tie again. Rested up. But no. See, that's the issue. We're not taking initial duels and risks, you do open yourself up to more attacks, which means more potential crits, and even the thunder misses there. It's quite unfortunate. Wins the tie. So what does he pull? A thunder, but it doesn't para, and so Solwyn's T-Bolt takes out the Zapdos, and Solwyn takes this game, which has one of those glorious endings I've seen to a GSC game. So yeah, those were, I think, the two standout games that weren't like the one game that was over 600 turns from the Smogon Classic playoffs. So I just want to look at this real quick. It definitely makes sense why you don't. See, the whole issue. Crucify is kind of forced to go for this, because the thing is that if Zapdos stays in, the rest of this team kind of loses to these remaining mons. Because the thing is, with Zapdos' protect residual, it doesn't really take that. It does not take that well at all. It can be hard for them to beat both, though. There's a lot of pressure in this end game, and a lot of things can go a lot of different ways. Like here, even, well, I mean, as you saw, Crucify technically had a higher percentage to, win this end game. But man, great series. Anyways, I gotta stream now. So, it's been Melcy, and thank you all for watching. Take care.